Yo, and welcome to another epic tale with Full Circle Kung Fu, where we'll read the legends of martial arts and discuss the moral meaning and philosophy of why they've been passed down for so many years. And we'll share our own personal experiences related to them as well. But if you've had your own experience and would like to let me know down in the comments below, I would love to hear your epic tales and discuss the greatness that is you. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of your favorite hot beverage, and let our journey into martial arts begin. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! During the discussion after the story, we do start talking about various animes, DC, and Marvel movies. Nothing terribly recent, but be ready to fast forward or stop if we start talking about something you don't want spoilers to. The story today is The Gentle Way. According to legend, Hasamori Takanoche founded the martial art of Jiu-Jitsu. He was a samurai master of the bokken, or wooden sword, and the jo staff, or short staff. Before founding the first known Jiu-Jitsu school in 1532, he was a soldier serving a daimyo, or lord, in feudal Japan. Story is The Gentle Way. Takanoche lie on the now quiet battlefield, drifting in and out of consciousness. All around him, wounded soldiers moaned in pain. A dead samurai lay mere inches from his face. Takanoche's shoulder throbbed and his head pounded. Blood streamed down his face. He knew that if he stayed on the battlefield much longer, he could be killed by wild animals or by treasure hunters picking through the casualties for something of value. He struggled to his feet, fighting the nausea that washed over him in the waves. If he could make it to the forest, he could hide in the underbrush. He might even find some moss to stop the bleeding in his shoulder when he removed the arrow sticking out of it. Moving carefully around bodies of men and horses, Takanoche made his way to the edge of the field. Blood and pain clouded his vision. In just a few more feet, and he would be under cover. Just a few more feet. Takanoche awoke. He was lying on a mat covered by warm animal skins. An old man squatted by an open fire, stirring something in a large pot. Where am I? Takanoche asked. Oh, you're awake, said the old man. He stood and went to Takanoche's mat in the corner of the room. How do you feel? Well enough, considering the injuries, Takanoche replied, trying to sit. The room went dark for a moment, and he fell back onto the mat. Rest, the old man said. Your head is healing. Somebody clubbed you pretty hard, and you lost a lot of blood when I removed the arrow from your shoulder. All day yesterday, I thought I was going to lose you. Takanoche reached up to where the arrow had been. A thick bandage covered the spot. You removed it? He asked. Yes, said the old man. I fought my share of battles. I know a thing or two about treating injuries like yours. He returned to his pot and spooned a dark liquid into a bowl. Drink this, he said. You need to rebuild your blood. Takanoche gingerly propped himself up and accepted the bowl. He tasted the dark liquid. It was faintly bitter, but warm and comforting. You can call me Sato, said the old man. This is my house, and you are welcome to it. My name is Takanoche. He looked around. Sato's house was tiny, a single room, barely even enough space for a couple of sleeping mats and a cooking fire. Do you live here alone? He asked. It's a long way to the nearest town. Alone? The old man said. Yes, in a way, I guess you could say I live here alone. He took a tattered cape from a hood and wrapped it around his shoulders. But I like to think that I live with the trees and the sky and the animals, and occasionally a visitor like you. I meditate, I do some exercises, and I live off of what the forest and my garden provide. It's a good life. But you were a soldier, a samurai? I was, Sato said, until I tired of the killing. I look crossed the old man's face, a look that Takanoche had seen on old soldiers before, a look of both strength and deep sadness. Takanochi's mind wandered to the battlefield he'd just left. He understood how the old man felt. Days passed, then weeks. Each day, Takanochi spent more and more time working in Sato's garden, walking in the forest that surrounded his house. Gradually, his strength returned. The pain in his head eased. One day, while walking, he found a long, straight oak branch. He cut it down and brought it back to Sato's cottage. Sitting cross-legged beside the garden, he whittled away the excess until he had a bokken, a wooden practice sword. Carefully, he checked the balance and then smoothed the surface by rubbing it with sand. That night, he slept with his weapon beside his mat the way the soldiers usually did. The next morning, cautiously at first, Takanochi began his practice. His shoulder ached, but the ache was an old pain, the pain of a limb that was healing, not the pain of a limb being newly injured. He found an old tree stump and dropped a stroke down onto its center. He had a lot of work to do to build the strength in his arm again. A soldier with a weak side didn't last long in battle. After several weeks of training, Takanochi's shoulder was nearly back to normal. His headaches were almost gone, and he decided it was time to go back to work. He approached Sato in his garden. I think the time has come for me to leave," he said. He felt a lump in his throat. He had grown very fond of the old man. "Will you go back to being a soldier?" Sato asked. "It is what I do," Takanochi replied. "You'll go back to killing and possibly being killed yourself. It is what a soldier does." "Then may I ask something from you as a soldier before you leave?" "Certainly," Takanochi said, bowing to his old friend. "Anything, I owe you my life." "Attack me," said Sato, stepping out of the garden. "What do you mean?" "Attack me. Try to grab me as a favor." Takanochi didn't understand, but as a favor to Sato, he walked up and tried to grab his arm. No, Sato said. "Attack me!" Takanochi lunged for the man's throat, but before he could grasp it, he felt his wrist being brushed away. His eyes locked out, his arm cranked over his head. Not sure what happened, Takanochi picked himself up from the dust. "Attack me," Sato commanded again. This time, Takanochi rushed him. Sato could obviously take care of himself. Takanochi ducked low, thinking to knock the man over, but in mid-stride, he felt Sato's foot knock his own foot out from under him. A quick twist of Sato's hips propelled the young samurai again into the dust. Takanochi scrambled to his feet and grabbed for his bokken. Sato stood calmly, waiting for him. Takanochi swung the sword, thinking to thump the old man on the head, but Sato was quickly inside the swing, locking up Takanochi's arms and stripping the sword from his hands. "Are you hurt?" Sato asked. "No," said Takanochi. "Of course not. But had you attacked a superior foe like that in battle, would you be hurt?" "Hurt or dead," replied Takanochi. "But I was able to stop you without hurting you," Sato pointed out. Yes, Takanochi wasn't sure what Sato's point might be. "Come, sit," said the old man, walking to the doorway of his cottage. "Let me tell you what I've learned here in the forest these many years. A soldier sees an attack and says, 'I must kill or be killed.' I see an attack and I know that I must keep it from hurting me. But whether I choose to kill or even hurt my attacker is up to me." Takanochi sat for a moment, taking in what Sato had said. "You don't have to kill," Sato said. "If you know how to take your attacker's center each time, every time, you can keep yourself safe. Then you can choose to kill or not kill." "Can you teach me?" Takanochi asked. "I was hoping you'd ask." The old man rose and headed back to his garden. "First, help me bring in enough cabbage for our supper."